Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 4, Episode 17?
17.
It is July 3rd, 2025. We are 57 days away from Elk Season.
Very close.
We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And tonight on the Elk Season Podcast.
First and foremost, happy 4th of July, everyone. But stories today, a euthanized grizzly, poacher updates, coyote predation, antelope wall art, big buck surprise, elk at the beach, and bear tourism. All that, probably more than you didn't ask for on the Elk Season Podcast.
Yeah, because we got to talk about the big, beautiful bill.
The big, beautiful bill.
We just have to talk about what isn't in the big, beautiful bill.
Yes, because I brought it up many, many weeks ago.
Yeah.
Before it became...
We've been talking about it for a few weeks.
I brought it up... As far as I could tell, I know that I wasn't the only one bringing it up, but it wasn't really a big vocal point until last week.
Oh, it crescendoed.
But it got big.
It crescendoed well.
But I'm proud that I harped on it on this podcast many weeks before some people were thinking about it. But I was just like, look, this is concerning.
Very.
I think at the time I brought it up, I was like, I don't know how much of it is real or not. But it became very clear very quickly how real it was that there was this big attempt to land grab and sell.
Yeah, like, are you really considering this? I couldn't believe it. I just really couldn't believe it. I go, there's got to be somebody that's going to stand up and go, yeah, that's not happening.
Luckily, it went away.
Yes,
and it went away quickly.
For now.
I know. Interesting in all of this, in some of the podcasts I've watched. So I watched Randy Newberg's podcast. In fact, I've got...
Fresh Tracks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to actually grab something.
Everybody loves Randy Newberg.
So do you have anything to talk about regarding this while I pull up something? Because I forgot. I wanted to share something on the podcast that I did. Well, actually, no, I don't. I'll just share. I'll give you a synopsis.
Okay.
So Newberg and his co-host on Fresh Tracks, they talk about this bill, and I'm like, I watched the whole thing, and Newberg literally is sitting down, and he's like out of breath, like he just got in the studio kind of thing. And I've always loved Newberg because he's advocated for public land hunts, having access to public lands. Yeah. He's just a big voice and especially during a time that we needed him.
He's always had a reasonable voice.
Yes.
Just middle of the road.
So thank you, Randy, for all that you did. And everybody else who's out there that has a voice as loud and as big as Randy. But anyway, so I watch his podcast and I feel impressed to leave a comment. And one of the things that came out, and this is something I want on a shirt. This is a bumper sticker I want on my truck. And it came out of this podcast where the voice of the people is coming out like, not 1 acre is kind of a mantra for this whole thing. And so I made a comment. I go, thank you both for doing this. Our public lands are too precious to lose too easily. Yeah. Not 1 acre. I tagged it at the end. And so I thought that was, I don't make comments all that often on YouTube. I'm not a big social media person, but I felt inclined. This thing is too important for me to not say something and have a voice out there somewhere. So I said, thank you, not 1 acre. But I got a response from somebody who seemed to be trying to figure out how to see if somebody was on one side or the other to convince them to support the other way.
Yeah.
And so I got this pretty lengthy response from an individual. And I don't know, again, when I reread everything, I go, well, I don't know if they were pushing one way or the other, but they were making a claim. And this claim felt like it came from a government standpoint of trying to sway people away from being against it. It's like, how else is the government supposed to pay off their debt? Is kind of their thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, there's plenty of ways.
Yeah.
So I actually put together a response to that as cordial. I thanked the individual for their reply, but I cordially responded with, a lot of the sentiment that we've talked about on this, being public landowners, the history of public land, just something brief. But anyway, I was just surprised that I got targeted.
Yeah.
But I wondered if it's because I used the hashtag not 1 acre. But it's like the government really isn't dead, and how else are we supposed to pay for it? Well, you can pay for it.
I have heard that 50%. Give or take, of traffic on the internet is bots.
Yeah, and
right.
So in my defense, of responding to this person, I'm like, this has got to be a bot situation.
Okay,
that's how I approach everything that comes out to me. So I accessed ChatGPT to help me with my response because I didn't want to be emotionally invested in it. I'm
Right.
emotionally invested, but I'm like, I'm not about to get in a battle, so I'm going to
Right.
be cordial. So I asked ChatGPT, here's a comment somebody made, and here's the comment, right? So what would be an appropriate response? And then I edited that response to cater to who I am. But I used ChatGPT to help me out, so I wasn't like, if it's going to be a bot, I'm not going to do a lot of work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, so
Right. Right. And so I just assume everything on the internet is a bot,
Yeah.
except for me.
But in a weird way, I thought ChatGPT's response helped promote the message that is inherent. Like we need to have a conversation that's bigger than just selling it off.
Right.
And so that's why I was like, well, it helps send more of a message. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
just
All
kind
right.
of, there was a little interaction I had.
Somebody accused me in the comments of having Stockholm syndrome. And I said, I'm taking ivermectin to clear it up. So that is as
What
serious
was that on?
that was as serious as I take anything.
Was that a meme
No, it was
you
on
saw?
Facebook. It was a buddy
Okay.
of mine.
All
It was
right.
a buddy of mine. I think all my friends have Stockholm syndrome. I go, I'm taking some ivermectin. This should clear it up. Because I can't.
Hold on, I got to go to the bathroom.
Anyway, so that was a pretty big deal. I remember how impressed I was when I read Timothy Egan's book, The Big Burn, Teddy Roosevelt and the
Yeah.
fire that saved America. And,
Oh, yeah.
and how we owe all of these public lands, our dear, dear public lands, to Teddy Roosevelt and Gifford Pinchot. We owe them
Yeah.
to a Republican,
Yeah.
right? The reason they're preserved is because of Teddy.
The-
a lot of them. Sorry, a lot of them.
The only thing that I'm concerned about now is the no road rule that has been
Yes,
rescinded.
rescinded.
So that we'll see.
I know. I kind of threw a little party when that law went into effect because that hasn't been in effect for very long,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm like, okay, good. If you want to access wild places, you shouldn't get there in air conditioned comfort.
Yeah.
It should be a wild experience.
Exactly.
And some people don't feel that way. You know, the 4-wheeler trails and in Moab, for instance. And
Yeah.
I kind of agree. In some of those instances, those have been. That's part of a culture.
Yeah.
That's part of it's a deep culture. Having those roads and having those Jeep guys out there.
Yeah.
And it sucks for them to lose that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm on both sides of the fence on
We
that
just
one.
need to continue having the debate and the conversation. And,
Agreed. Because
just-
when it first happened, I'm like, good. No roads is better. And then you hear about Moab.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
One of my favorite
I didn't want that to happen.
One of my favorite channels is about a guy who goes out and he rescues people all the time from off-roading. It's Matt's Off-Road Recovery.
Yeah.
I love that channel.
Yeah.
And I recognize the need to have those spaces for people. As
Yeah.
much as I don't want to lose unnecessary loss to anything heritage-wise,
Yeah.
I also find an incredible amount of respect that people tend to carry out there.
Yes.
They're always picking up
Yes.
traction. So look, we can do it respectfully. We can have the debate. We can meet in
Yeah.
the middle. There are places maybe we can have roads, maybe places we shouldn't. But hopefully
Especially those Jeep
conversations
groups that
continue.
get together and hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, let's keep these trails
Exactly.
clean. Let's make sure and report people. Let's make sure that these trails are used right. And so when that happened, I was like, well, that was kind of a bummer. So the pendulum is swinging, and the Elk Season Podcast is here to talk about it.
Yes. So speaking of our actual list, because we've actually talked about everything but our list so
I know,
far,
because you
which
said
is
it's probably something else. I go, well, we forgot to talk about this.
That's okay though.
Yeah.
And now I got to find my little window here. So I'm just going to go down the list from the top. So we talk a lot about everything wildlife conservation.
Yeah.
Of course, what we just talked about, it wasn't without merit because that is part of how the podcast, what it does. But grizzly bears have been a big thing, especially when I introduced you to The Grizzly in the Driveway. Like I read that book through you. Thank you.
Yeah.
In fact, I joke with people that I run into that they're like, hey, have you ever read this? I go, no, but it sounds like something my brother would read, which means I'll get to hear about it.
Yeah.
So it's how I roll these days in
Yeah.
some circles. But there was a grizzly bear that had to be killed after it kept returning to an Idaho neighborhood for food. What did we say about a fed bear?
A fed bear is a dead bear.
So this was a grizzly bear near Island Park in Idaho. And so it's one of those things, when an animal becomes used to having a food source.
Okay. I you know what? I think we talked about this last week a little bit.
Okay.
But I found, and I can't believe I didn't show you some of my TikToks. They have trail cameras basically that kill only by laser Anopheles mosquitoes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? They have them in the jungle in Africa. Anopheles mosquitoes are the ones that transmit malaria. And so in these places infested with where the old policy used to be kill every living creature except humans, right? Kill every creature, leave the trees and the plants, but you just have to kill everything, and still the mosquitoes came back. Right? And now they have this targeted technology. Why can't this technology? I know that's a bear. We can haze that bear.
Yeah.
We can make it policy. We can help homeowners and subdivisions, really, really help manage bears in a better way by using this type of technology. And I think it's only a matter of time, if they don't exist already, that a bear haze and a camera. Listen, if you want the post, you should have it, but it shouldn't be the post of a bear at your picnic table. It should be the post of a bear running scared.
Yeah,
because you do it right.
Yeah. But people think, because we're habituated and conditioned to think that, bears are cuddly and cute and they can be your best friend.
And they make great posts and let's put some food out, but they don't understand the responsibility of all that.
Yeah.
Including a dead bear.
Yeah. Speaking of irreverent behavior, an update on a poacher. So earlier this year, or was it last year, late last year, somewhere, I think it was earlier this year, a gentleman was picked up for harassing wildlife in a helicopter. So a hunter was out and he had this really big buck. And as he's coming in on this buck, this helicopter swoops in, and it was clear that this helicopter was trying to push this buck away from him. And so there was a hunter.
Wow, I don't remember.
Yeah. So this was out in the Camas Prairie area.
Okay.
And so big muleys and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are.
And so
big.
This happened to be a man from Rupert. He has lost his hunting license for life. He has to pay $180,000 in fines.
He was flying the helicopter.
Yeah, he was either flying the helicopter or was in the helicopter.
Okay.
He was found guilty of single poaching charge in a case that involved using a helicopter to chase wildlife. But there's more to his whole case than that.
I'm sure there is.
But that was just like...
there always is.
And there's still the case of the... I haven't seen a follow-up yet, not that we need it, but from here in Filer, where we had the taxidermist recently. So that was the more recent one in my mind. But this guy...
I do. It is kind of ringing a bell.
So...
Interesting.
Pretty crazy stuff. If you see something, say something.
Yeah, and you're not going to get away with much nowadays. You pull stunts like that, they're going to record you.
Yeah.
Aircraft have tail numbers. We can track that down.
Yeah. And usually everybody's got a camera anyway while they're hunting.
Yeah.
So
for real.
It makes even less sense.
Right. So. And maybe he wasn't pushing it away from the hunter so much as he was trying to herd it around for himself.
Exactly what he was doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he didn't know the other hunter was there?
I don't know if he knew the other one was there. Buck fever happens.
How could you not know?
So I don't know.
I've been in a helicopter following coyotes through the desert. That is fun. Right? But from that view, you're as high as a power line and you're moving. That's perfect. You can see everything. It's incredible. Anyway.
Hey, you showed me this really cool video. I say cool, but it's also like, at first, I thought it was a grizzly bear, but it was just a giant black bear running through Tahoe. But grizzly bear on the driveway kind of thing, right? We
totally
pushed these spaces. And here we are harping at bring the grizzly back to California.
Yeah.
But we talked about the study that recently said, hey, it's possible that there's enough habitat.
There's plenty of habitat.
And there's plenty of extra bears.
Well, actually, that is really the argument.
Yeah.
That is really the argument. Are there enough bears?
That's a good point.
To hunt
I'm just jumping to conclusions.
No.
I don't know. I'm not a biologist.
That's the perfect question, though.
Yeah.
If you're not going to let us hunt them, let us send them to California. That's my argument. That's my sales pitch. Either let us hunt them or send them to California.
Exactly.
But they do need to fill up a little bit more space in Idaho and Montana, Wyoming. Just a little bit more.
Just a little more establishment, but we're pretty close.
But not where I hunt.
Just know where.
Just kidding. I'm fine.
Wherever.
It's wild places, man.
Hey, you showed me a really cool picture somebody got of a coyote. It looked like they were carrying an elk calf.
Yeah.
And that was confirmed not from Idaho, but from somewhere else.
Yeah. It's funny. this guy we met, we were up hiking on up where we hunt.
Yes.
And I met this guy on the hill. He was hiking over because he was scouting for next month. He was scouting for October.
Yeah.
He wasn't even hunting. And we met up. We talked. Oh yeah, we're both from Twin Falls. And so it turns out he goes to the gym, to the CrossFit gym where my wife worked. And now he goes to the CrossFit gym where my wife owns.
Yes.
And we trade all kinds of secrets. Everything I get on my, in fact, I bet dollars to donuts. I have video on my trail cam of the bull he killed.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
And I bet you I do. And anyways, so now anytime anything wildlife related, he knows I'm a go-to to talk to about it. And he sent me this picture 10 minutes before I left my house today. His brother in North Dakota. It looks like a cow. It could be a elk calf or a deer, a fawn, but it's a coyote carrying the head of something.
Yeah. Yeah, it could well, a coyote's small, so now that I think about a deer, maybe it's a deer calf. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to
I don't know. I don't know either.
Because it looks like it could be either.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We all want to think that's a wolf with an elk in its mouth.
That's the first place my mind went. You had to
Always.
say coyote before I converted. And I was like, oh, he's right. It is a coyote.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a wolf.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be cool to get that on a trail cam? Haven't had that luck yet.
Oh.
And plenty of bears.
Yeah.
Elk.
I want to do another year project.
Yeah.
I want to go deep in, put up cameras, leave them there for a year, and come back and get them in a year.
Yeah.
Just to get
that was fun.
I loved it. I want to do it again.
Yeah. And I've got cameras I want to do that with too.
Okay, right on. It's only July. We only have 57 days to get that done.
You know, it's gonna sound like I'm trailing off, but I'm not. I'm gonna pull us back to this next conversation. I went and got propane a couple months ago.
Okay.
At this little propane shop on Washington here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. It's like it's like the last no man's land of all the development that's happened there. Have you ever been in there?
I have.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Have you ever talked to the gentleman?
I have.
So have I. Because when I went there,
he likes to hunt. He's been to Africa many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, based on an image you showed me today, there's only one thing that he could do to make that array of awesome harvests better.
Right?
Have some inclusive, not inclusive. That's a bad
professional.
Word. Have added wall art to make it look like the full animal. That's just really cool.
That is incredible. Yeah. So I found a TikTok. Some girl likes to paint on walls, and her dad has an antelope or a pronghorn mount,
depending
on, the
on
wall.
your nomenclature preference.
And so she paints the body of the pronghorn, and it looks so good.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he mounted the whole animal on his wall.
If Cabela's would do that, I would spend more money. If Sportsman's Warehouse would paint a few bodies just around those heads, I would spend more money there somehow.
So by the way, that gentleman told me his next trip is next year.
Yeah.
He retires. He works there, and all he does is he sends his money to go harvest animals in Africa.
Yeah.
So.
And he told me last time I was there, I think I've only been there once, but he told me the next time he's going, and that was years ago.
Oh, that's crazy.
Years ago. Yeah.
Well, clearly he goes.
Yeah, but he makes an impression.
Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff. Now, you showed me this image, and the first thing that I thought of was stories that you've told me about coming up on elk in the same way.
Yeah.
So this guy in this video,
up on elk in the same way. Many times.
Both of us have had these experiences, but for whatever reason, your stories stick out to me.
Oh,
because you just tell them so much more vibrantly than I remember my own, I guess. Because particularly in, I forget what the name is of the place where there's the. Never mind. I can't remember our anyway.
Our nomenclature, the canyon and the.
Yeah, the canyon, the big canyon with the two little canyons. Anyway,
the gulch.
Yeah. Anyway, so you talked about coming across some bulls there, spike and whatnot, and some deer
and some deer. Yeah.
So that all I could think of was that, and it looks almost like that place, kind of
the gulch. Man,
but
we've had some experiences in the gulch, haven't we?
But this person comes up on $3 with their camera, and it's just really cool.
Just monsters too.
They are, and I've seen these kinds of monsters up where we hunt. Regularly.
Muley gold, big ones.
So that's something else.
Those are tough. Mule deer are tough.
Yeah. This is going kind of fast.
That's all right.
But we have one story left.
Oh, okay.
So it's, it's the summertime. And we're not going to the ocean this year, but I would like to go out to Oregon and see this happen. Elk on the beach.
Yeah.
It reminds me of so many stories that you read about with Lewis and Clark and what have you, of what their experiences were when they got to the coast.
Yeah.
Things like that. That coastal elk apparently is different than the inner elk, the way that they taste or something, or the way the meat is.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure they're
with some of the stories.
The vegetation's different, and yeah.
I don't know. But it's just cool. Seeing wildlife in any capacity is still fun. So I get why people are drawn to seeing a bear run through a town, or to seeing, a baby bird. Like I went to Natsupa over the weekend. Yeah. Took the two younger boys, and we were leaving, and it was kind of a weird thing. It's almost like sometimes things happen, and you go, I wonder if that was for a reason. So we get in the truck, and as I'm sitting there and we're getting ready, I'm collecting my thoughts as we're getting ready to leave. There's this kid, maybe 10, 11 years old. He's not got no shirt on, and he's like, you can tell that he didn't have enough sunblock. But he's staring at the truck, and I was like, he's on the driver's side staring at the back wheel, and I'm like, what is this kid doing? And then I'm like, he looks nervous. He looks upset about something.
Yeah.
Like, here's this guy with his truck started, and there's something. I'm like, so I roll down my window, and he goes, there's a bird on your tire. And I was like, oh. So I get out of the truck, and then the bird saw me get out, and he's like, oh, I don't want nothing to do with you. And the kid was like, he was nervous that I was going to squish this bird.
Oh.
He just looked like really concerned. Oh. And so when we started pulling out, the kid was on the other side watching for the bird, and he's like giving me, like, the bird's going to be fine.
Like,
but
you're clear. You're clear.
Like,
Go ahead.
I want to give him the sense of confidence, like, we're not here to squish this baby bird. He's got nothing to do. He's chasing a bird. Great. That's the kind of kid I was. That's and cute. So but when I came around the back of the truck, my tailgate was down.
Oh.
I go, well, that's weird.
Yeah, it is. Was that the bird too?
Maybe. But I was like, well, I'm glad I did that, because I wouldn't have looked for my tailgate, because we got in, we didn't see the tailgate. But when we were changing in the change room, which is literally right across the road from where we parked. Yeah. The building is literally right there, just a wall. I stepped on my key fob on accident when I was changing. Oh. So the whole time we're there, I must have accidentally hit the tailgate down, which drops the tailgate. And so the whole time we're there, people could have gotten in and gotten my fishing gear and all kinds of stuff. But they didn't. They're cordial. Right. But the kid didn't care that my tailgate was down. He saw it. He came around the back. Yeah. It's like, hey, there's a bird on your tire.
I left my window down for an overnight camp.
Yeah, I remember.
During a storm.
I know.
Left it at the trailhead with hunters coming in and going out over and over.
And the hunters, I was with you. And they're like, hey, is that your truck? I'm like, no, it's his. Well, your window's been down.
Yeah,
like,
it sure has.
Talk about your heart sinking.
Yeah. You go, well, everything looks like it's here. Don't tell my wife. If you know my wife, don't tell her.
It's like the weekend you bought the truck or something.
I had an interesting moment when I was in Mexico. I was on vacation in Mexico with the family this past week, and we took a long drive to a little town outside of Puerto Vallarta called Sayulita. And it was about an hour and a half, and there's the mountainous region of Puerto Vallarta. That's where they filmed Predator, and and it's part of the pride.
Get to the chopper.
It's if it bleeds, then we can kill it. That's such a
poor
famous
Jesse
line.
Ventura.
But the mountains are but the mountains. So they had to cut a tunnel into the mountain. And so we're like, ooh, hey, Ozzy, he's our 8-year-old. He's with us. He goes, ooh, Ozzy, there's a tunnel. We're going to go through the mountain. And they go, why'd they cut a tunnel in the mountain? I go, well, so we could drive through the mountain. And he goes, oh, I kind of feel bad for the mountain. That's actually a pretty good instinct.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I never stopped to think about how the mountain feels about having a hole cut in it. Or having roads on it, for that matter. So anyways, I just thought it was an interesting perspective. And of course, we have to have holes in mountains. and mountains aren't feeling, but there is the concept of Gaia, the whole earth as a living human, as a living being.
We kind of brought that up last podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting look at that. Anyway, and it's such a fabulous, wild world. I looked up when I was in Puerto Vallarta. I wanted to know what type of jungle cats were indigenous. And there's one called an ocelot.
Oh, yeah.
You ever heard of that?
I have.
And there's another one that actually it has become extinct in the United States, but they're starting to see it a little bit more now in Texas. I think they caught one on a trail cam like 7 years ago in Texas. I forget the name of it.
So not technically extinct anymore.
Extinct in the U.S., sorry.
Well, if it's in Texas.
I know.
I'm just picking hairs. I'm picking hairs.
Extinct should mean...
Mostly
non-existent.
gone.
No more in the United States. Of course, extinct is extinct. Anyways, so they're excited about the resurgence of that. And then there's actually another mid-American lynx that is also native to that. So there's the big iguanas are fun to see, and all their different colors. But yeah, one of the fishermen, we went out fishing for a day on my birthday. We went out fishing, and the guy says, "Oh yeah, when I was a kid, about 20 years ago, we'd come into the bay of Puerto Vallarta, and the Puerto Vallarta Bay is really big. It's a nice big bay." And he says we used to be able to catch tuna all the time. And then the big commercial guys come in, and now you have to take a 2-hour boat ride, and before you get any tuna. Tuna, even in the good season, doesn't come in close enough to catch.
Wow.
So, anyways, that was just telling to see someone tell a perspective of their lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? We all know, looking back, oh, I remember when there was this many elk or this many deer, remember herds, or there wasn't any hunters, right? I remember that. And that was my lifespan, right? You remember the summer of 99 in Wisdom.
Yeah.
There was nobody there.
And now it's just always busy. It's like a campground.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see. And so it's global, right? It's not just where you and I go. It's the whole world is changing. And
yeah. And I think that brings us to a great spot of reflection to maybe even wrap up.
Sure.
And that is kind of goes back to what we started off with at the beginning to go, look, we all share this world together, and the public lands we have really are sacred, and we need to keep them that way. So pack out what you pack in, and really not 1 acre. Like, just remember, we're not selling 1 acre. We need to keep this for ourselves, for our futures, for our children, their children's children, and beyond.
Yeah, and if you look even further away, all land is public land.
Yeah.
Right? We need to take care of everything. We need to be a steward of all things, of all the land and all the holes and all the mountains.
That's right.
Anyways, until next time.
Be well.
Goodbye.
In the morning light, before dawn, bow grip tight, heart beating strong. Through the forest, ancient giants roam, in the land where the wild calls me home. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet, in nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. The mountains rise, kissed by the sun, in September where I belong. Bugles echo loudly through the veil, a symphony of an ancient tale. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet, in nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. Silent as the morning mist, I travel on with careful grace. Every shadow, every sound surrounds me in this wild embrace. The challenge and the thrill, the patience and the skill, in the dance of life and nature, my heart's forever filled. As the sun sets, shadows long and deep. I find my place with the memories I keep. The chase and the beauty of a day gone by. Deep in the mountains, my spirit cries. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty, out where the hunter and elk meet. Here's to the wild places where the elk and I both roam. The chase that brings us closer to the place that I call home. In the stillness of the forest, in the grandeur of the land, I am one with nature's wonder, with my bow here in my hand.